Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Ready Speaker. I have my good friend Nick Leshi here with me today, and we're gonna do a little review. Like I like to do a little comparison review of two movies that don't seem to jive together, but they do in some ways, and there's a lot of things in common. And at first glance, you don't think so, but it's very interesting to see who wore it best. With that's becoming like a trademark thing of mine
That's
for
your
movies.
trademark.
It is. It's actually, but it works. Like who wears the idea best?
It's
Who
true.
delivers? And that's what it's all about. And like I said, the two movies that have some commonality, and I think they overlap in some interesting ways. The movies we're looking at today are I'm looking at IMDb. That's why I'm twisting. I'm twisting and looking over because I have like two monitors here because I'm a geek and a half. If I could have 10 monitors all around me, I would. So we're looking at oh my god, Vengeance came out this year. And it was written by BJ Novak, which I mean is the best stripper name or porn star in the world. BJ Novak would be like, but it would be like adult. I mean, but it's a guy, so it's different kind of porn name. But he wrote it. He's the writer, director. He is from The Office. So that's actually, he's got pedigree of humor, timing, improv. So he knows rhythm of comedy, which is kind of great. This movie came out this year. I'll give you some details. It was filmed in the US, I think. It was grossed around $4.2 million. Opening weekend, 1.7. I don't know what the budget was for this. It's an hour and 47, but I think it might be around the 4 million mark, something like that. It's very low budget, independent film, what I think is a true independent film. Some other actors in it are, let's see, other people I really like in this. Where's the hell is this one girl here? That's Issa Rae, who I actually like
She
a
was
lot.
great. She
She's
was
great in
amazing.
it. She's great. She
She
has
is
great
so
timing
cool.
too. She has
I loved
such
her in
great
this.
timing. In almost everything I see of her, she's like a bright light. It doesn't matter how dark or
Yeah.
dreary the moments are, her pacing is freaking amazing. You have John Mayer in it. Being
Yeah,
John
the little
Mayer.
cameo at the beginning.
I
I was
loved
like,
it.
what?
I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
And you can tell
Do you
probably the
think
way
do you
Nick
think
and
he
I
was
are
playing
talking.
himself? You think he was
I
playing
think it was
himself?
a play
Because
on
his
that.
his credit is John. It just says
Yeah,
John.
John.
So I'm
Yeah,
curious.
it's.
Yeah.
I think it's actually on IMDb. The credit is John Mayer on IMDb as John Mayer, which
That's
reads so
awesome.
well because when it opens, it gives you
Yeah.
an idea of how the story goes. So a summary of the story is, BJ is on the call. BJ Novak is Ben Manalowitz. I think that's how they pronounce it. I'm gonna
Yeah,
go
he's a New Yorker writer, right?
New Yorker
This
writer.
intellectual New Yorker
New York writer,
magazine,
yeah, Code for Jew, which is so it's, I think it's and he plays it up a little bit in the humor, which I think
very
is
very
great.
Woody Allen-y. Like when it
It
started, the movie
was,
felt like a Woody
yeah,
Allen movie, very
yeah.
intellectual, dialogue
Mhm.
driven. And I'll be honest, I don't know if I felt it at first because I felt it was maybe a little overwritten. It felt like maybe he was taking some
Uh,
stuff that,
yeah,
but then it really hit its pace, when he gets that call,
yeah.
when
Well,
he's hooking
well,
up with that other girl, But
yeah.
I liked it.
The idea is that he hooked up with a girl, and the family calls him saying, "Hey, this person died," and they're thinking that he's the boyfriend, this boyfriend of hers that she's infatuated with, and they call him down to Texas, West Texas, to attend the funeral. So it's a fish out of water story. A person coming to a new city, and seeing the humor there with the culture clash. Yeah, I think that's kind of interesting. It's a new environment. They take them in as their own. And what we're comparing it to is another film that came out in 2022, Barbarian, which actually this budget I know was 4.5. I don't know the budget on the other one. This grossed 40 million or 44 million worldwide. So far, an hour and 42 minutes. Also an independent film. And this is a thriller, which the theme is it's a common one I've seen some of the actually romantic comedies. So that's where this sort of works together. They're both sort of romantic comedies, where the main character, and I'll go for the name here, I'll go for the lead. Actually, and this was written. Who wrote this? Let's see. I forgot.
Zach
Soundtrack.
Kreger, the director,
Zach
the
Kreger, director
director.
again,
Yeah.
writer director. Yeah,
Yep.
he did a really good job with it. Zach Kreger, and it was Georgina Campbell who plays Tess.
He was great
Bill,
too.
yeah, she was
Yeah.
great. Bill Skarsgård is in it as Keith, really creepy guy. Justin Long is AJ, which I think he really brought a new
He
tempo.
was really good.
Again, where we're seeing like a start, and I'm like, okay, where is this movie going? And it just changes. Now this one does further down the timeline, but very much like
Yeah.
Vengeance, it does do a flip, and you're like, where am I? Where am I seeing this? Where am I
Yeah, a
going with
lot
the
of
story?
twists and turns in
In both.
Barbarian,
No,
and
that was
especially
yeah.
Barbarian because it starts off. It's got kind of a slow burn feel to it, like
Yep.
you don't know where it's going, but you know it's got this creepy factor, like you
Oh,
said.
definitely. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
spoilers. Bill Skarsgård's character is very creepy, and you think, okay, he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
And why would she walk into the house when this creepy
Yeah.
guy is already there?
Yeah.
You don't know, and he's acting creepy to her, like
Yeah, definitely.
he's
That
trying to start a
possessive. Yeah.
conversation and
Yeah.
being like all
And over
into
the
your
top. Yeah.
business.
Well, like I said, the story for the audience, if you're gonna, I mean, watch it. I think you should watch both of these. Is again going to the point. Is that two people book an Airbnb by mistake? They get overbooked. They don't care. It's out in the suburbs of Detroit, and everyone knows the myth. I'm not gonna say Detroit's a crap town. I've never really been there, but the myth of it. Let's just say the myth of Detroit, or parts of Detroit that are desolate and abandoned. They both booked this space in Detroit, and she comes in after him. He lets her in, not wanting to let a woman out in the streets. And then when you see it, during the day, you see it's a rough part. It's a rough part of town. She is in the wrong part of town. And again, fish out of water. There is a culture clash.
Yeah.
She's going there for an interview to assist in an independent film. So she's a creative, to doing the hustle like all creatives do.
Yeah.
Again, the lead is in the creative environment. In Vengeance, Ben is in the creative environment. How do they look at stories? How do they look at things? Are they good people? I think inherently they both are in many ways. They're trying to be good people. But this also has great tempo. Keith, Bill Skarsgård, is this creepy guy. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I watched it until the turn in the pacing. I thought it was going to be a rape torture thing, and I don't watch those films.
Yeah.
It's just not what I get into. It's just not. I can't. It bothers me because there's too much reality, and I think people just do that just to. I don't know. I don't know why they do it. I don't see a need for it, and I don't need to. I don't see a need to make it art form. I just don't see a need for it. So I actually turned it off. I said, I'm done with this. And like I shut it off. And my wife said, it's getting good reviews. And my wife doesn't like these types of movies. But she said, God damn it. It was intriguing. And she's like reading on it. I don't think it's rapey. I'm like, it's not. Let's just watch 5 more minutes. So she convinced me to sit back down and watch 4 more minutes. And it went within those 5 minutes, it totally went a different direction. It told a very, very interesting story. I love the camera work. I love the color palettes that changed depending where they were in the scenario. I think the jump factor was really good there too. That there was a jump, a scare jump in it, where you're like, what the hell just happened? It's a $4 million movie shot in Bulgaria. And all the interiors were shot in Bulgaria. The exteriors were shot in Detroit.
And it's a fictional street in
Yeah.
Detroit. A lot of people are like, what does the name Barbarian mean?
Yeah.
And I think I was reading up, like even the director didn't even know. He kind of made it up as a placeholder.
Yeah.
But the street is Barbary Street.
Right.
So maybe it's a play on that. But who's the barbarian? Is it
I
the
think he
monster that you end up seeing at the end, or
I think he was dealing with some mythologies and things like that, which is really, and that's where the idea came up with, like, creepy guys and how many red flags before you turn away.
Right.
And everyone there sees red flags. The only person, again, spoilers, that knows the red flags, the homeless guy nobody trusts.
Exactly.
And that's really amazing.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like with both movies, it's like you feel a sense of sympathy and empathy for the characters, and you don't know who to trust and who do you like,
right?
And they surprise you. They surprise you, because like when you see the homeless guy at first, you see him as a threat, and you're like, okay, there's another jump scare. What's this person gonna do?
Right.
But then you realize he's trying to save her. He's like, don't. There's something in that house that you
get
don't
out.
want a part of.
Worry about you. Worry about you.
Yeah.
And her being a good person keeps her in the space. And in Vengeance, that's almost the same thing, where Ben goes there to write a story about this girlfriend. And he's like, these guys are crazy characters, they're conspiracy characters, and they're in West Texas, so it's a different kind of thing. And everybody's trying to tap into that mentality. It's a great cast. I think both of them are great ensemble casts.
Very much so, yeah.
This is a great cast. And he goes there, and he's going there to make fun of them. Really, he's going there to hear their stories and their voice, and he thinks they're characters and not real for him. None of it's real because the girl was a one-night stand. And he's like, I have no idea what the hell this is about. Like, why would you even think? And he's like a Woody Allen type guy, where he's a little dweebish, he's a little pushy. I mean, there's a great bit. I actually enjoyed it. He's getting driven back by Boyd Holbrook. That's played by Ty Shaw. And they make a joke. It's like Liam Neeson movies. And he's like, he goes, you do remind me like a Liam Neeson movie. That one where the concentration camp, and and all the characters look like
Schindler's
you,
List,
and and he's like,
yeah,
Schindler's
and
List.
that's why BJ Novak is so good, because
Yeah,
just like his reaction is so subtle,
it's so subtle,
perfect, but
and he wrote it
perfect.
for himself,
You
so
know, like
he's in
he
the
knew,
game. Yeah, and I was
and
like,
it was just hilarious,
yeah,
and
that
it's
that
really,
made me chuckle.
yeah,
The characters about how I think Dove Cameron, who played Kansas City Shaw, is like, I'm gonna be famous for being famous. So he's
yeah,
playing a lot of what's out there in culture out
right,
there, and what we
right,
expect of the people that we
right,
don't know. As East Coasters, we are East Coasters. I'm a New
yeah,
Yorker. Like, you're a New Yorker. It's what we expect of what we
yeah,
think the myth is of those characters, and it's kind of interesting. And both these movies play with myths of like,
yeah,
what's the myth of the community in West Texas? There,
yeah.
bless your heart means go fuck yourself. Everybody, no,
Exactly. I love
everybody,
how they say that.
yeah, everybody. And I do know a lot of people say bless your heart.
Bless your
It
heart.
doesn't mean go fuck yourself. And and
And they use that as a great punchline
it's a great
in a movie. You
punchline
know, it's like,
repeatedly. And
yeah,
and like, he goes there, we see this world over there that's being built for us. It's very colorful, very rich, very vibrant. And what the myth is of that area. And the same thing with Barbarian. You're seeing the myth of Detroit. It's in different cops, which again also plays a role
in
in
both
both
movies,
films, in different
absolutely.
cops. That they're not doing their
Yeah,
job. And not because they're incompetent. It's not because it's not Keystone Cops. It's not mean cops. And I've said this to people that there is a pension mentality out there. I'm not putting down cops, but in any business there is a retirement mentality, and it is one of the few professions where there is like a real, cloud, a real end to the tunnel of retirement. And they play those characters. I feel like that way. I'm not going to get hurt. It's not worth my pension.
hmm
I'm not going to do this because I'm doing the minimum because I got to get out in 2025.
and I
That's the
think you
plan.
got that from the first movie,
Yeah,
Barbarian, when
yeah,
those two cops. At first, you think, okay, they're just stereotypical cops who are
yeah,
judging this girl,
yeah.
because they think she's on drugs and they don't want to go
Right,
into
right.
this crack den house or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
But then you see they're getting calls. There's something else going on here, and
yeah.
there's something. So they're burned out. I think they're
They're
also
burned out.
like you
They're
said, they're
tired.
like,
Yeah.
so
Is
yeah,
it
they
worth
don't
it?
care. Yeah, they're
Is it worth it?
prejudging.
Yeah,
So I don't sympathize with that,
yeah.
but you see a little bit of, you can understand. So it was more than just a stereotypical
Right,
character. Like they
right.
really gave them a little bit of depth.
Yeah, it did.
And in Vengeance, it's the same thing. You got, and it's a funny bit
Yeah,
when
it
they're
is a
like
funny
going
bit.
from jurisdiction to
Mhm.
jurisdiction. It's like the state cops are pushing it
Yeah,
to the highway patrol, and the highway
yeah,
patrol is pushing it to this locality. And it's like,
yeah,
it
yeah.
was just
Yeah, they
kind of
got
funny.
Homeland Security, the Parks Police.
You're right.
I mean, they got everybody. It became, and it's a part of the plot,
Yeah.
which
Because
later
that's
on,
this location,
yeah,
that's
is very
kind of in
specific.
the
It's
corner of like
chosen.
4 different
Yeah,
jurisdictions, and that's where they go and they bring all these people who
yeah.
are like overdosing, and they
Yeah,
don't want
sure.
people to
That's
worry about or
yeah,
figure out what
and that's where
happened.
they
Yeah.
find the girl who dies from
Right.
drugs. They find her in that area, so that's not even like a real. That's actually part of the plot.
Yep.
So, but it's not really revealing
But yeah,
anything.
it fits in.
But it fits in with that rhythm and tempo. And again,
Yeah.
this is not bashing police. I'm not.
Absolutely not.
I'm
Yeah.
not bashing anybody. But
Mhm.
I think there is a mentality that you can play into and write as a real layer of a character. Like, hey, is the
Mhm.
danger worth it? Right now, I'm busy. I'm burnt out, like you said. I'm already doing 100 things. This isn't on the scale of me to worry about. An OD girl, it's on the scale for me to worry about. She OD. Somebody who's like a crackhead, in the burnt out section of Detroit. You know what? You guys are always calling me for these fucking problems. I got to deal
Yeah.
with the shooting now. That's actually
Yeah.
more important. Somebody else can get hurt. You're
Mhm.
already burnt out. So these are real myths. These
Mhm.
are realities of perception. That they both play on it. It's I really, when I was watching them, and I thought about it, and Nick, I asked you to join, this episode. I was like, that's really interesting because again, at face value, you're like, they're not even close to each other. They're
They're
not.
so different. They're so
Yeah,
different in tone and in,
yeah.
you know,
But the
audience spot.
storylines, the beats,
Mhm.
they follow not a pattern, but an interesting perspective. That's actually just, again, I always feel like we're all living in the same world and we're all getting the same
Mhm.
influences and same things out there, and we're being impacted by dialogue and politics and whatever. And you write stories, and you're writing a different. One's a romantic comedy, essentially, it's dark, and one's a thriller. With some elements in it like that. But because they're all getting the same influences in the world, those beats
Right.
they're replicated in a totally different way, which I think is great. They're very good independent films. Production value I thought
Oh,
was
production values
great.
are through the roof.
Yeah,
Amazing.
for both of them. For both of them. Like, I
And
feel
they're
like,
both, I believe they're both their first feature film
yeah,
directorial debut, I believe.
yeah,
I don't know so much about Zach Kreger,
yeah.
I hadn't
I
heard
don't know.
anything he'd done before, so I don't know. But I
I
think
think
this is
he's
his
done
first feature film,
something. Let me
maybe.
see here. Let me
But
see quick.
either way, this is the one that's going to put him on the map because I think
I
this is
think so.
a great movie.
Yeah.
And they're both about the location. You know, one is Detroit, right? This
Yep.
fictional town in Detroit. But it's just like, you know, I'm from New York, and you know, I've been to Buffalo, and I've been to places that, you know, I've seen better days,
Mhm.
and you kind of feel that sense. And yet there's that flashback in Barbarian when you go back to the 1980s and you see the neighborhood and you think, oh, this was when it was a paradise, and yet it wasn't, right? Because you
Right.
had this awful house and what was happening in there, the travesty that this guy was doing, you know, abducting girls, and you know, just so behind this facade of like this perfect neighborhood was this hell, right? And everybody was leaving because of what was happening. So I thought that was a great kind of contrast.
Yeah.
And then with the Texas thing in Vengeance, you know, you have these stereotypes of, you know, this a hick town, and it's, you know, what people think, and yet you start learning about these characters. It reminded me a lot of this movie Doc Hollywood. I don't know if you ever saw that with Michael J. Fox.
Long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, where he's this Vegas plastic surgeon, right? And he gets stranded in this small town and starts discovering himself and realizing
Yeah.
these are great people and they're smarter than he is in many ways, you know? So I
Yeah.
think that's how, you know, BJ, there's that scene in the parking lot when they leave the rest, you know, when they leave Whataburger, right?
Yeah.
And he finds out that they knew all along that the girl was
She had
you know,
a drug problem.
yeah, she had a
Yeah.
drug problem. So he
Yeah.
gets really annoyed and upset, you know,
Yeah.
and then that he, you know, that's when they had that great interplay with each other, and he realizes, you know, they're smarter than he thinks they are,
Yeah.
and you know, so I thought that was really heartfelt. So there's a lot of all that subtext and
There's
layers in
there's
these
definitely moments.
both
Yeah.
movies.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's the point where he where BJ Ben goes
Mhm.
becomes friends with the younger brother of the girl, and there's a very
Yeah.
sweet moment.
El Stupido, the little
Yeah,
kid, right?
stupido, and they sort of make fun, and it's all, and like you're right, they sort of get rid of, like they start with like very stark
Mhm.
stereotypes,
Yeah.
and then by the
And then you
end they're
see them
real
as people.
people. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah, El
that's
Stupido, this little kid,
yeah,
when he goes, "What are you scared of? You know, why do you have
yeah,
to sleep on my floor?" And he's like, "I'm scared of ghosts," you know?
yeah,
And I
yeah,
thought that was the most human, because that's the problem I had with the movie so much. I felt it was a little overwritten. A lot of this dialogue was like
yeah,
really intellectual, and people don't really talk that way. And when they do, they
yeah,
sound pretentious. But it was those moments, you know, like in the
yeah,
parking lot scene and in the bedroom when he's like asking the little kid, what are you scared of? That felt human. That felt, and then the ending, you know,
yeah,
that was
yeah.
amazing. You know, I thought that was great too.
I thought Ashton Kutcher was good there too, and
He
I
was.
liked the dialogue in him. I'm not a huge fan of him because I kind of always hear his voice. And for some reason his voice just reads something certain to me. Uh, but I do think the guy tries, and you know, we said this like I said this the other day when I was talking about Harry Styles. You know, I think Ashton Kutcher here did his homework, you know, and he brought
Yeah.
something to the
He got the
character.
accent right. I thought that
Yeah,
was great.
he got the
Yeah.
accent right, and just his tempo of speaking, you know, and I think that was a moment also where the Ben, the character, finally felt something. We're like, wait, there's honesty out here. People do talk to each other out here, and
Yeah.
they're looking out for each other.
And he came
And
across as so intellectual and
yeah,
smart. Like when he's
yeah,
talking to that girl during the recording,
yeah,
and you could see Ben's face, you know, kind of like almost being like, "Wow, I found
yeah,
my you know, spirit animal almost," because this
yeah,
guy
sure,
talking about stuff that's really, you know, upper level.
yeah,
And then that's what makes the ending so, you know, because Ben from the beginning
yeah,
he's like, I don't believe in vengeance. That's not who
yeah,
I am. You know, it's
yeah.
not part of my life.
And they make
And
a
yet,
Chekhov reference. If there's a
yeah,
gun, it's got to be used. And
exactly.
essentially, they use a gun.
And
Yeah,
I love how the, you know, the sister
yeah,
who's, you know, you think she's a, you know, this Texas dimwit,
yeah,
and she's like, there's no play that Chekhov's written where he's
yeah.
had the gun. He
Yeah, it's
mentioned,
great stuff. Yeah, it's
so she,
great little stuff.
you
Yeah.
know, yeah. So I thought the
Well,
seagull.
you've taken theater classes. How many times
Yeah,
have you heard
we've done
Chekhov?
seagull. You know,
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
it's like whenever if you introduce a gun in the first act, you got to shoot it by
yeah.
the final act. You
Right.
know,
But
otherwise you're just misleading the
ha-
audience.
Chekhov has
So
never had a gun in his place? No, has
you
he?
know,
I
it's
don't
like
know. I don't know if it's true, but it's a funny bit. It's like
it's a
we've heard
funny
it.
bit,
You've
very
taken
funny
theater,
bit.
I've taken theater classes. They always mention Chekhov. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. You know, so it's kind of, they're both really, really good. And like I said, if you go back to, you know, Barbarian, there's some great stuff in Barbarian. It's actually, Barbarian, that's his first feature film. He's done TV series writing
Okay, there you
and a
go.
lot of acting.
Impressive,
Yeah,
impressive.
so
Yeah.
very impressive with his tempo. I think he actually plays a character in the Zach Craig or Everett.
Mhm.
But he very impressive with the tempo. I thought it's one of the better horror films.
Yeah, a
Without being
lot of twists and
demeaning,
turns, you
yeah.
know?
It's and then they do a great flashback scene of showing Detroit in the 80s. There's a lot of people don't realize Detroit really was a very bustling city until the mid 80s. Like
Yeah,
83, after 83 is when it really imploded.
yeah,
Was and speaking of cops, they lost their pensions, everything. Like, it really deteriorated
yeah,
really fast. So it was in recent history, Detroit lost its luster. It's trying to make a comeback for a while now, but
yeah, yeah,
and that's also part of the story as well, of people trying to make communities and go into these houses. And I don't know if you know, like people buy like mansions over there for like $100,000,
yeah, yeah.
and they make little communities, and they're trying to do that. It's just too cold. But
A lot of snow.
it's just so freaking cold. And there's a lot of nothing to get there, which is sad too. Because I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know if you've been part of the middle of the country. Some of these towns, it's just
Mhm.
really sad how they
Yeah.
just it's the lines of travel of transport have ruined them. They've shifted, and that's
Mhm.
what they relied on. But it's such a really, really interesting film. Again, great lighting, great direct. I thought great directing on
For
both.
sure.
BJ did a great job directing himself and that whole
I thought
cast
so,
in
yeah.
Vengeance. That's hard to do, and he's in
It's
most of the
amazingly hard
scenes.
to do, yeah.
He's in most of the scenes, so he's the lead. He wrote it
Yeah,
for himself. I don't know if it varies too much from his character in The Office. I mean, he's sort of, but again, like it's a Woody Allen. Like, how much do you? I mean, what do you give yourself? Give or take, personality wise. You're going to
yeah,
fit
yeah,
something, and he sort of found a story that fit him.
yeah,
His tempo, his cadence, and I like that a lot. And there's a lot of Boyd Holbrook, Ty Shaw. He plays that sort of Texas sort of guy in a lot of
yeah,
films. He was in Logan. He's been in a lot of films, and he plays that character. But here he really he leaned
yeah.
into it again. He did a great job with it. Issa Rae also great job
She was
with it.
fantastic.
I loved her, and I think she just makes my day when she acts. I think she just really, really brings some
Yeah.
great stuff
That
in.
was an example of like, and we've talked about this in other episodes, where they don't have much screen time on the set together. They're like
Right.
kind of in different cities
Yeah.
talking over the phone,
Yeah.
and yet they had such chemistry and they worked
Yeah.
so well together.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
see she trusts him, and he's worked with her before and
Yeah.
wanted to do a podcast, and
Yeah.
so it's like that I like that. I like that chemistry a
No,
lot, and she brought a lot to it. So I kind of want to see more of that character a little bit.
I think
Um,
it's excellent writing. I'll be honest with you. I
great
think it's
writing,
excellent writing where
great writing.
it's very organic. That the what's being said is organic, even if it's funny, even if it's indifferent, doesn't matter. It could be a great punchline, but it's very organic the way it moves, and it sort of makes sense. And they're both, like I said, an hour and 47 minutes, so not they're within like just above the 90-minute mark, which I appreciate. I'm tired of
Yeah,
like movies that are 2 hours and 20 minutes.
yeah.
I can't finish them
It has to
sometimes.
be like that finite
Yeah,
timeline.
it's a little
Too
bit of a
much.
world, and I like it. I wish more independent films. I know this is like you're like, oh, $4 million is a low budget. Actually, that's what's considered
Yeah,
low budget. It's like under
yeah.
five. And
And
what's the name? Especially with the name. You
yeah,
know,
these two movies. It's like I wish more people can go into it blind and not know where the plot's going, because I think
yeah,
the surprises are really what make it.
yeah,
So hopefully anybody listening to this, is not letting our spoilers kind of ruin their experience if
yeah,
they haven't seen it yet. Because you really maybe pause it, go see the movie, and then come back and watch us. But
yeah.
because it's those twists and turns that are really really impressive. You don't know where it's going, and then
Right?
it's satisfying.
Yeah,
Like in Barbarian, the character does so many stupid things, like why would you go into the house when somebody else is there? Why would
yeah,
you open that door and go down the steps when it's so
yeah,
dark? You hear a scream down there, why are you going into it? So everything that a horror fan would be like, don't do it,
yeah,
they do it. But then the payoff it pays off really well. It's
yeah.
I
It's
think
it's the
it
opposite
works.
of Nope. Where like they
Yeah,
said yes to everything.
yeah,
And
everything,
the
every
AJ,
single thing.
every single thing, and there's some funny bits in it. There are with AJ. He's
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to rent the apartment even though it's been empty for a month, and like it's freaky. And he goes, "Wow, it's extra basement." He's
yeah.
like,
He
"If I sell
lost.
it, there's
Yeah,
more foot space. The square
yeah.
footage, so it's actually worth more."
So he's excited,
Meanwhile, it's the
right?
only house on the block that's still left standing.
Yeah,
Everything else is just burnt down.
yeah.
And it just nuts the way it plays. I mean, I don't want to do any more spoilers. I think I'll be
There's
too
so
many of
many.
that.
There's so
Yeah,
many.
yeah. I don't
It's
want to do
really
any
good.
spoilers. There's a lot to look at
Hmm.
with this stuff. I'm looking at. I'm like even still how big the cast is. I forgot how many people are in it. It's like wow, because they're small films. These are COVID,
Hmm.
era of films. So the
Yeah.
casts are generally very small nowadays.
Hmm.
Also in what's her name? J. Smith Cameron, Sharon, who played the mother, Sharon Shaw.
He was
She did
really
a
good.
great job too.
Absolutely.
Just the right tempo as a
Every
mother.
single character had, even like those bit players that had like a
Yeah,
couple of lines,
yeah.
really funny.
Mhm.
You know, like the guys who blow up
The
you
car,
know, the
yeah,
car.
yeah, like you
You
talk
know, then you
about it,
find
yeah,
out who they
yeah, like,
are.
oh, okay, and
Like,
but yeah,
okay,
but that's also like
funny.
it's the again, I think that deals with I don't know if it's intentional, but it deals with the perception of what's going on, these myths that we all believe. You go into these
Yeah,
areas and you think everybody's gonna be hostile or stupid,
yeah,
and you're as nervous as hell, and you never really know where to get help when you're in your worst times. I recommend watching both of them. I think everybody should watch them. I think
yeah.
they're
They're
probably
very
yeah,
different in tone and
yeah,
quality.
yeah,
But in terms of the production values and the performances, and then the story, if
yeah.
you stick with them both, I think the payoff is great.
Yeah, I absolutely do. I definitely highly recommend both of them. I think they got good dialogue. It's written well, shot really well. The
Very
color
well.
palette for both is very interesting. It really does show the area they're in. So
Hmm.
they really went with, what do we bring into this area? What do we're making you
Yeah,
feel the space,
yeah,
and with the outdoor stuff, and the indoor too. I mean, obviously, Barbarian is very indoors, but they really made you feel the space.
hmm
And I think the same thing with Vengeance. You felt the Texas. And I don't know. I assume it was shot in Texas and West Texas, but to me, you felt it. You felt the sky. You felt the
yeah.
bigness of it. The
Right.
flatness. These aren't the hills of Texas. This is the flat parts of Texas, and it was like, okay, you can actually feel it. You can feel
Hmm.
the vastness of it, and it's kind
Yeah,
of interesting because it's just these folks, and it's not. There's nobody around. Same again, a very common thing with Barbarian. There's nobody really around. It's just
yeah,
flat. Yeah,
yeah,
and there's shit out there, but people don't really
yeah.
take. They don't really think about this part of the country.
Yeah, it just
Well,
kind of
so
reminded me when I went out to Montana many years ago.
yeah,
You know, a guy from New York. Here I am,
yeah,
city boy, and again, the landscape just kind of
yeah,
overwhelms you. So that reminded me of the scene with Ben when he's driving and just sees
yeah.
that sunset, and it was just I thought that was a really
It's
powerful
a very
emotional.
powerful moment. Yeah,
You could
yeah.
feel the character and what he was
Yeah.
going through.
That
And
happened to me in I went to Colorado once, and I went to Colorado Springs
yeah,
from Denver, and I had never seen that shade of grass before.
it's amazing.
And I was like, literally, like, holy shit! Like, I just looked out. I took a picture on my phone. I never saw, and because we're isolated in this country. I think we are. We don't really travel to other states,
Yeah,
and the terrain is unique, and
mhm,
and I think it's most of the country is a wonderful place. And
yeah,
if you really give a chance, you can. I think that's what this is all a little bit about too. Is like get out to the rest of the country. I know you don't want to go out where there's a place called Barbarians, horror people, or there's people dropping off Odin in the desert.
yeah,
But it is interesting, and it does give you insight. Like in Barbarian, she goes in the house and the guy's creepy. He's an artist. He's probably just not social, not really adept at being social, and it goes sideways. The guy does try and do the right thing. He's actually
at
being
the end.
very protective of her. He's
Yeah,
like, listen, let's be very protective. Let's be smart about this. Do they make every wrong move possible? Yes.
everyone.
But that was the idea of the script.
Yeah, that's what.
How
Yeah,
many red flags you can how many red
and yeah,
flags
you
can you
still.
ignore?
Yeah,
Yeah. And just red flag after red flag, and you're ignoring it.
yeah.
And that's even a little bit with Ben. It's like, bro, what are you doing? Like, you don't want to know the girl. Just cut it off.
Or the scene when he goes with the that gangster guy,
Yeah.
Sancholo,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He's thinking this could be the one that killed her,
Yeah.
right? And the guy's like, just come,
Yeah.
leave your recorder.
Yeah.
Don't record this conversation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like what? And
Yeah. Like,
yet
what's
that's
happening?
a great scene too, because he's like,
Yeah.
he confesses. He's like,
Yeah.
I've never killed anybody, but I
Yeah.
can't let people know that. I gotta
Yeah.
let people know that I can,
Yeah. Do it. Yeah.
somebody if I have to. That
Yeah.
was a great, powerful scene as well.
So many good scenes. I think the one-on-one scenes there were really, really good. They all found a moment. I mean, and there's humor in it. I think he used Kansas City Shaw as like the sexual jokes, which
Mhm,
is fine. I think she was in Schmigadoon.
mhm.
I knew I recognized it. She was in
Yeah,
Schmigadoon, which I keep telling you to watch. I don't know if you watched it.
I haven't watched it yet. I will. It's
I
on my
tell
list.
people it's on
It's on my list.
Apple Plus, I think,
Yeah.
whatever it is, but it's a very funny series. It's coming out season 2, but it's very funny.
Yeah,
Uh,
Dove Cameron, that's the
yeah, Dove
actress's
Cameron.
name.
Yeah,
She's really good. She
she's
had some
good. She
funny
plays
lines.
that. She has some really funny lines in
Funny
it, and
lines.
the other sister Parashaw.
She was fantastic as
Yeah,
well.
she was
Really good
fantastic.
casting. They
Yeah,
all had good chemistry together.
yeah,
And they do
it's
well with the script, which is a tough
yeah,
script, when it's
yeah,
so overwritten like that, and yet they play it,
yeah,
and it comes across natural, in many
yeah,
ways.
definitely.
So
Yeah, so
yeah.
like I said, I recommend both these movies. I think we have certain friends that
Yeah.
watch movies and stuff, and I wish they would take this and give it a chance, because I think it's worthwhile. It's a good sit.
Yep.
Uh, Barbarian, it's a little rough, I think, till it starts really getting its footing on the change of speed a little bit for a minute. but I think it's worthwhile to get there. It
Yeah.
moves. Both movies move.
Yeah.
So they're in depth. They pull you in. You forget about time for a little bit.
Yeah.
An hour and 40
And when the
minutes.
monster is revealed, I mean, this was a
Yeah.
pretty cool monster. Like
Yeah.
the
No, it's
strength
a
and
good one.
it's
Yeah.
like it's the
Yeah.
kills that they do is pretty funny,
And
and
it's yeah.
arms being pulled and heads being ripped. It's just like if you like
Yeah.
that sort of thing in terms of your horror, it's like it pays off really well.
Yeah, it's to me. I don't know if they were, but it looked like practical effects,
Yeah,
which
and
were on
it
on the point. You don't
yeah,
need millions of dollars to CGI something when you
yeah,
got this and you did it real, very tight script,
a lot of
very tight
jump
cast,
scares,
jump
so
scares.
yeah, so it's very
Like
good.
that, but both of them just really, I think, do the best they could with the money. Money well spent,
Uh-huh.
and I again highly recommend.
Definitely,
Highly
for sure.
recommend. Yeah, that's all I got. You want
That's
something
it.
down? Yeah,
That's
that's
it,
it.
man.
Look at
Watch
that.
it.
That's
And
it. Watch it.
I'm looking forward to to what they can do next, because this
Yeah.
was really a good start for both directors.
Yeah,
And we'll see what they got up their sleeve coming up, because
yeah.
it's a pretty good beginning, you know.
No, definitely good writing. Let's hope they do something different. Or I mean, the good thing about horror is that you can do another horror.
Yeah.
Witty comedy, dark comedy. That's a big swing. That's a big swing to get to. To
Yeah,
get two out of that, God bless you got one. That's a
yeah.
big swing to get to,
I
and
know.
that is like huge. But I think he's got the right rhythm for it.
Yeah.
I would hate for him to fall into the pattern of this film as his go-to.
Yeah.
Because I recently did an episode of romantic comedies, and I think how that dead, and that I think that's a pattern with a lot of people, is that they go to they go to their go-to character, and that becomes their answer for
Yeah.
everything, and there's no work involved.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, like Ashton Kutcher did his homework. And I think that's a term that I've heard people use in theater, and when people do their homework and they're really like looking at the character and they're becoming part of it. And I mean, I don't know if this was a stretch for BJ to become this character. I think it sort of
Hmm.
was, because he has an aloofness about him,
Hmm.
and he has, I think he really did create a character.
Yeah, he did a good
Yeah,
job.
I think he really did create a character. I'd love to see him create another one.
Yeah, I almost,
Yeah.
I don't know if either one of these movies really deserves a sequel.
No,
Although
I would
both
say no.
set the, I
Yeah,
mean, the first movie
yeah,
sets itself up where it could be,
yeah,
who knows what else is in that house, you know.
yeah. Sure, yeah.
But I like the Ben character. I'd like to see almost like
Well, like I
where he
said,
goes now from here,
yeah,
because he's done this thing now where it's
yeah.
like, wow, that's life changing, and I kind
I
of
don't
like
know.
to know more about him. But like you say, I don't know if there's a story there. I don't
I
know
don't know the
where else they
story,
could
and
go, but
I think it's
this
independent
is,
films. It's great when they is one and done.
yeah,
I love independent films that are one and done, because it's really for me, my rule of filmmaking, and writing films, writing scripts, and I do that, and I try, like anybody. We're all struggling to be creatives. Is that why did God? I'm not a religious guy, but I use the term. Why did God turn on the camera to watch this moment? It's always a slice of life.
mhm,
Be it traumatic, be it scary, be it a romantic comedy, be it a heartfelt moment. I don't know, but that's the reason the world is paying attention to, why the world
yeah,
stops spinning for a second to pay attention
mhm,
to this little thing.
right,
And with independent films, or these low budget types of films like this, that with good, actually a lot of these people are, they're famous working actors, so they're not like nobodies. Uh, I think it's one and done, and you've done a great job.
yeah,
And I mean, I'd love to see what else you can do, because you did so well here. And
yeah,
show me a new story. Just show me a new story, and I think I would watch them. I love seeing what's that guy from from Barbarian, AJ again. Is that Long?
yeah. He was
Justin
good.
Long. I love seeing
Yeah,
him in that. He was actually the second person. They
he was
approached other
good.
people for that.
Yeah, yeah,
But he was great. I love seeing that guy. I've always liked that guy. He's still Galaxy Quest, one of my favorite
yeah.
movies. I think that's his first
And
movie.
I felt sympathy for him too. Like, even though he's been
Yeah.
accused of terrible things, and then
Well,
he does, and he
it
said,
comes out. It comes
yeah,
out. He's kind of a douchebag.
there's a
He's
point when he says, he's like, I know I'm a bad guy, but
yeah.
I want to do, and then he does more bad
He
things.
does more
It's
bad
like,
things, so he's kind of a
it's like, come
douchebag.
on, man.
So but I like it.
Great character, great
Yeah,
character.
great character. He didn't make it personal. I think that's the thing with a lot of performers. I've seen this on a personal level. They don't. Well, they think it represents them, and it doesn't. It just
Mhm.
doesn't. Be the character. The character. If you do that, if you're the character, everything just comes natural. Then, if you believe
Right.
the rules of the character, and I believed the rules of that character, I thought it was really,
It was
really,
really good.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's nice. It's nice to see stuff like
yeah,
that. I mean, it's
for
really,
sure.
really interesting. And yeah, he comes out as a douchebag. There's a
Yeah,
great move. There's a great moment. I thought it was a great moment in the bar when he opens up to his friend about, you know, what's going on in his life.
Yeah.
And I've heard those things said,
Many times.
you
Many
know, by
times.
guys. And I'm like, you know what? I appreciate that somebody can write a comedy, any kind comedy, drama, anything you write, it has to be based on truth.
Yeah.
If it's not based on truth, it's forced, and then that's it's a shitty
Yeah.
moment for everybody because it's faked and it's heightened to some ludicrous level. But when it's based on truth, which
Yeah.
I think both of these films, their dialogue and their tempo is based on truth,
Hmm.
of how people speak, how people react, even if they're,
Yeah.
you know, missing all the signs of get the fuck out of the house, that they excel. And I think that like I said, that's the common element for me of how they were
Right.
written. Their style, again, different genres, but I think because they really went head first into, you know, let me write it in truth
Hmm.
and base it on truth and some truth,
Yeah.
and keep those rules true to those hour and 40 odd minutes. That's what really set it apart for me, from all
Yeah.
the other stuff. There's a lot of movies I can't watch. I shut them off. There's a few tonight I tried to
Yeah.
watch. I'm like, pop, pop, pop.
Yeah.
I
These were
watched
good.
Causeway. I'm gonna review that soon. Causeway,
Yeah.
which I do
Yeah.
have ideas about that. I just watched
Yeah.
that as well.
But
Jeff
these are
Clark.
good. These
It's
were
great.
good. And they were good together. Like it was
Yeah,
really interesting.
yeah,
Completely different in many ways, but a lot of similarity and different,
yeah.
themes going on there. So
It sort of put me in the same
comparison.
place at the end.
Yeah.
You know, by the end, the emotion I had of watching the film was sort of in the same place. So I was still thinking about the characters.
Exactly. That's the key. Like
Yeah,
thinking about the characters, wanting to talk about it with somebody, and be like,
yeah,
what do they get out of it? And it's
yeah,
like there's a lot of meat there on
yeah,
these bones for these movies.
yeah.
You know,
That's
especially the
rare.
first, especially Barbarian, which you think, okay, it's just a horror movie,
Yeah,
but there's a lot there where you can
yeah.
talk about. So
It's moments. It's really, really
yeah,
good moments. Really
yeah,
good moments. And then like, funny stuff, dark stuff. I mean, they're
yeah.
both dark and funny.
They're both dark in many ways, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
So,
it just really, really worked well.
but a
So
lot, a
again,
lot of good humor as well, and
yeah, yeah,
entertaining. Both of them are entertaining. So
100%, 100%.
yeah,
Well, that's all I got. Okay, everybody.
yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you,
Thank you,
Nick.
man.
Thank you
I appreciate
again.
it.
I appreciate this. You know, thanks. 'Cause otherwise, it's just me talking to myself, saying
Always
that I
good
like the
talking to you,
movie.
buddy.
And this is so. Hopefully, we'll do another one. Maybe you'll watch Causeway. We can talk about that.
Maybe. Who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah. It's start streaming. I think it's yesterday. It started. I
Okay.
forgot where it was. It's Jennifer Lawrence,
Okay.
and
She's always great. She's always good.
I don't like her in everything. Again,
Uh-huh.
I say that about a lot of people. You
Yeah.
know, it's like I don't like them in
I
everything.
guess it depends on the material, but
Yeah,
she's
no,
funny. I
you know
like
what's
her.
with her? I actually think she delivers
Hmm.
really well. I know we're going off on a tangent here.
Hmm.
But she delivers really, really well with a lot of stuff. It's on Apple TV.
Hmm.
And
I'll check it out.
yeah, check it out. She delivers really well. And I think we should allow to really again do the homework and
Hmm.
take the people in. Like American Hustle. Remember
Hmm.
that movie?
Yeah, I liked American Hustle.
I actually I didn't like that movie too much. She was one of my favorite parts of it though.
Okay.
I thought she did a great job of it. I thought she really, really took a character and like just went into it. And the other person in that film is Brian Tyree Henry, who's from Atlanta, the show Atlanta.
Okay.
I actually love, again, he's one of these people I
Hmm.
love watching. I just love
Okay.
watching him. So give it a shot. I'll keep that in this
Awesome, man.
review also, just so people know. Go to another movie, and keep watching movies. Keep
Yeah,
watching movies.
that's the
Keep
key.
understanding movies. I'm leaving this
Yeah,
tag.
with a
This
theater, in a theater with people, get their reaction.
that would be great.
Especially,
Yeah, I'd love to
you know,
get into a theater night. And that's what you do. You discuss movies. And did it
yeah.
stay with you? It's I will say I've been ending my episodes with this because to me it's important. I tell everybody in my audience that I'm a true bypass survivor. I got the zipper stitch on my chest, and you know what? Every day is a blessing. So when you go to sleep,
Every day.
enjoy something. Know that it could be your last, which isn't a sad thing to think about because you had a full day. And
That's a good
you
point.
might not wake up, but you had a full day with your family. You've told everybody you love them, and you've gone to sleep. And when I wake up every morning, I say, "Look at that! Another day for me to finish." And that's what I do, and that's why I watch movies, and that's why I talk about movies. Not because it's movies. I talk about a lot of stuff: politics, anything I want to talk about, nature, gardening, how to make a meal. I don't care. I think it's great to talk about things, and so everybody enjoy talk about things. That's what this podcast is about. It's ready to speak. That's what it's about. Be ready to speak. So thank you all. Thank you again, Nick. Hope you come
Thank you,
back.
buddy.
Hopefully we'll have some more people on the show. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. And now it's going to
Awesome, man.
swirl. It's going to go at the end credit.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, buddy. Bye.